All right. Well, welcome everyone. It's time to get started for our webinar. Super pumped to have all of you with us today, whether you're a doc or you're a practice manager or you're just looking to help your practice improve in your growth and management. And really excited to have Jen Troy with us. She's founder and CEO of the Troy Method. To give you a little of her background, Jen previously has worked as a clinic director, as well as a weight loss coach, X-ray tech. She has a lot of experience actually managing a practice, and she loves chiropractic. So she has a lot of personal experience in seeing the benefits of chiropractic in her life, as well as being able to help a number of patients. And so, as a result of that, Jen, you founded the Troy Method, which we know is a team of passionate, dedicated appointment scheduling experts that not only do they do quality lead follow-up, but we know that they're experts in the chiropractic space, which just really makes you a valuable asset to any team. So we're looking forward to hearing more about your program and why it's so much better than just what some might call a call center today. We know you do so much more than that. Of course, the problem before we start, I want to hear from you, but before we do, let me just state the problem that many of our clients deal with that are running chiropractic or neuropathy or another type of practice. They have leads coming in. Their marketing program might be working very well, but they're not converting those leads into patients. And of course, to solve that problem, you either have to have your staff doing all that work. A lot of times they either don't do it, they don't know how to do it, they don't do it well. And so your leads, the nurturing part of that process, it just suffers, and they don't follow up well. And now you're spending all this money on marketing, and you're not getting really the follow through to convert that into a patient and then resulting revenue. And so we love Jen because she helps complement our marketing program. When we get leads in, we really work to target that, and then she can take and really make those leads come to become actual patients and bond there with your practice. So Jen, we're really excited to hear what you have to offer about your program. In a nutshell, can you tell us a little bit about what the Troy Method does and what makes your business model unique in your space?
Yes. Well, I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. You hit it. We are passionate about the chiropractic profession. So in a nutshell, the Troy Method it was birth of my desire, my experience in the chiropractic space in the office, but also personal stories and watching patients get better. The Troy Method is a team of people passionate about natural health care that take leads and make them patients. That it's really as simple as that. We are very rigorous in the follow-up process, and we just take it to the next level. Having had the experience in the practice and seeing the holes in the process that our staff inevitably had when they were wearing multiple hats all the time, that's why I decided to do what I do now with this team of people. We have stepped away from the practice because I had to. I moved. Otherwise, I'd probably still be there. But we are different because we bring the passion. So when all boats rise, but call centers are not all created equal. We get labeled as one. I don't love that, but in a nutshell, that's what we are. We are the ones who are picking up the phone and pounding the pavement, so to speak, to get your leads as booked appointments. And we're different because we have the experience in the space. You will not find a more passionate group of individuals. I cherry pick them because our mission is to help as many patients as possible get to better healthcare. And we know that we get to do that by helping the doctors that we serve. So
Yeah.
hope that helps.
Yeah, no, that's great. And of course, I know that to be true, Jen, because we've been working with you for a number of years now, and just seeing how you complement and your expertise, your team's expertise, and working with the software that's in the space, knowing EHRs and knowing how things work and how they should work with appointment bookings. It's just really helped our clients a lot. We'd love to know a little bit more about what really motivated you to found and come up with this unique concept, the Troy Method.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Again, being in the practice, I was in a practice clinic director, literally wore every hat. You kind of touched on that. And I had to move. And I had to decide in that moment. My kids were getting older, and what did I want to do? Like, I needed to stay in this profession. Too late for me to go to chiropractic school, otherwise I probably would have. But what did I want to do? And I had some really great relationships with one of the agencies that I worked with at the practice. They were getting our leads for us, and they knew me. You know, when you work with an agency like you guys, you get close to your agency, or you should. And I know yours do. So they knew me, and they caught wind that I was doing some remote work for my office from home. I was working for my doc, and then my doc said, "Hey, my friend needs help. Can you help him with his leads too?" And it really started snowballing from there. My motivation was, number one, I needed to still be in the profession and impact patients, but I knew that I couldn't go at that time in life, couldn't go back to full time being in a practice. So what was the best case? So my motivation was, I am still, I get chills saying it still. And I think that if that ever goes away, then I need to do something else, but it's been years now and it's not going away. My motivation is that I just feel like people need to know that there's better healthcare out there. I could be a lobbyist for chiropractic and regenerative care. It's not just chiropractic. We do things for all the natural health spaces. But that is my number one motivation. It really is I want to get as many people knowing that they don't have to go do drugs. They don't have to have surgeries. There is a better way through chiropractic and regenerative healthcare. That's number one. Our mission is our mission, and it is to help patients get off drugs and surgeries and get to better care for themselves.
Yeah, I love that. And thanks for sharing your story. And I think you and I have a lot in common in that respect, and why we got into what we're doing, and really trying to help people really to get that. And we won't digress into what we're combating in the chiropractic space with misinformation and things, but helping to contribute to that is a wonderful thing. Now, just like me, you and I, we both meet with chiropractors on at least multiple times a week. When you meet with them, what are the complaints that you hear? Because I know what I hear all the time, and them trying to be successful in their practice. What do you think some of the viewers that are watching this right now have as far as complaints that you hear on a regular basis?
And I think that, there's a variety, but if we're narrowing it into like lead follow-up and nurturing and really my niche here, what is it? It's people don't show up. Like, we've tried, my office is trying, but then they're nobody's showing up, or they call again, and they call again, and I'm not getting any engagement from the leads. So show rate, engagement with the leads. And then the last one would probably be like, well, if they get here, then they're not converting to care. So those I would say are the top three that I hear almost regularly. So I'm saying it because y'all are not alone. It's not just you. We felt that from time to time in our office as well. But there are ways we can change that. So
yeah, I totally share. I mean, I hear the same thing constantly, and what we do helps to contribute to that, but what you do really takes it to the next level for them and help them close the loop on that. So we have some questions coming in from some of our viewers. How do you train your staff to be experts in the chiropractic space? Or were they chiropractic patients themselves? I hope you don't mind me throwing you a curveball on that, but
yeah, no, yeah, totally. So how do we train our team? Number one, when I am finding people, when I'm hiring, I think I've been labeled the ninja at the hiring process for my team, because I am specific. They are representing me and who I am. And I am an advocate for life. I'm dying on this hill. And I think that I don't expect my team to necessarily have that same passion that I do. However, I look for that. I look for experience in offices. That's like, I mean, you guys know it's worth its weight in gold if a chiropractic office can find and hire somebody who's already been at another office. So I look for that brings their resume right up to the top of my list. But I'm looking for the experience with the person. Now, how I train though, like, let's say they don't, because not all my team has experience. About half of them do have experience in offices, which is amazing. what I do is I put them through a minimal 2-week training process. I've actually created, and Michael and I have talked a lot about this. I've created a course to not only help teach front office staff how to do what we do, but it's for my team too. So I put my team through that course through their 2-week training process. But what's a part of that course, and every time I say it, I think people chuckle at me, especially when I'm talking to doctors. But there is a module in that course that talks about chiropractic and talks about the nerve system and what it does. Like, what are our doctors doing to help patients? I don't expect our team to consult when they're on the phone. I don't expect them to get into answering all the questions necessarily. But I want them to be confident in what they're talking about and who they're scheduling for. And when they know a little bit more about the nerve system and the brain sending signals down the spinal cord and out through the nerves, when I can educate them a little bit and give, start building some belief around it that I have, that's what makes my team next level, without a question. They have a really good understanding. They study all of the therapies that our offices do, whether it's chiropractic, regen med, knee decompression, spinal decompression. I show them little snippets and little videos on each one of those therapies. So I could go on, you got to stop me, Michael, I'll get on a soapbox. But when we're training, that's important, because they need to have confidence, and they're going to be really good at scheduling patients if they know the foundation, if they know about the profession, if they don't have any background in it.
Yeah, I'm so glad you shared that, Jen, because I mean, that right there, there's not a company on this planet that does what you do. No one educates. And if I could wager a bet, I bet there is zero, even staff in the practice, when they hire a front office staff member, they are not doing even close to what you've trained your team to do to nurture and educate that patient to get them to come in. And I just think that's phenomenal. I think that really adds a lot of value to what you're doing and just sets you apart. I just think it's amazing. I'm glad you shared with us a little bit of the nuts and bolts. We are looking forward to hearing a little more about that course, because that course is so effective. And I think you have a special offer for those that are listening. We'll talk about at the end of the call today. And you guys are definitely going to want to hang on to see what that is. It's a pretty significant deal. And Jen doesn't offer deals very often because she doesn't have to. So I highly recommend at least checking it out, seeing if it's a good fit for you. And so, Jen, maybe we could ask this. It's today. The buzzword is AI, right? ChatGPT, AI is all over the news. It's impacting every space, every market out there. And one of the things I'm hearing now, Doc saying is, why can't I just use AI to just handle all of that? Why can't they just handle all my marketing, all my calls, all my text, email, blah, 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 and just have it do all that work? Why do I know you guys implement AI where you can, and automations to help complement what you're doing, but why is it important to have a real human that's been trained the way you've trained them to really follow up on calls? What would you say to that?
Ooh, this is a lot to unpack. So, initially because we've really started seeing the snowball with the chat AI and all the things. And I think, initially it can be scary. Like even my team, like, oh gosh, we're going to be replaced. No, what I suggest anybody doing, and I had to sit back and do for a minute, just for a minute though, it didn't take me long. What do you want as a consumer? As if I'm scheduling my healthcare, what do I want to interact with? And it surely isn't bots all the time. I'm actually, and I feel like the general population, I could be wrong, but I feel like the general population is sick of bots, sick of the roboticness. We're missing the human element in our world today. I wholeheartedly believe that, which again makes us good at what we do, because we know that the human element and the trust and the relationships that even this one phone call we may be making with a patient builds is so important. We operate like like we're an extension of the practice. So again, when docs are asking that, I sit back and I ask them, well, what would you want? If you're okay with just scheduling in what I consider to be important appointments for yourself, what do you want? Do you want just a bot who you have to, tell it the same thing 5 different ways for it to understand you? Look, we have some conversational bots and such that do work well to just get an appointment booked, like just get it on the calendar. But you bet we are following up as humans after that appointment's booked automatically. So we're complementing it. But that's my challenge to docs. And if people are questioning that, it's you can do it. You can send them to a page and they can book their appointments themselves. But let's go back to the complaints. Are they going to show? Are they going to convert to care? And all the other things. So I think we can leverage it to work together with humans. But right now, until they start sounding like us and they can have some really cool calls that are unhinged and perfectly like a human, which I think is a ways away, you need people. You need people to really get the most out of this process. You're paying money to get leads. You're paying money to get patients in your door. Like, this isn't a part I would skimp out on in my experience in a practice. Like, it's worth the investment. So in time, in dollars, whatever. But yeah, this is a lot to unpack with these bots.
Yeah, that was a great answer, Jen. I mean, really, when you paint that picture, everything looks right. Everybody wants the new shiny thing that's going to hopefully save them money. But in the reality, when you put yourself on the other side as a patient, really, I was thinking as you're describing that, when I call a doc, do I want a bot just talking to me about my healthcare? I don't think so. That's kind of a scary thing, and so really that helps us with understanding the value there. And I think we can all get that. Nobody wants that.
Well, yeah, and I think too that it's kind of like you can also still be efficient though. Like, my team isn't spending. So people also want quick appointment bookings, right? They want to be fast. They're in this text world of instant gratification, right? So patients do want fast, but that doesn't mean it has to be at the sake of human interaction and a little bit more of a personal touch. You can do both, and we're successfully, able to do both.
Yeah. Love that. I love the balance. If you ask my team, I'm a big fan of balance, right? Find the balance, and then you got a home run. And I think you guys have just nailed that with how you've set up your team and staff to really take advantage of technology, but not sacrifice what we all need, which is that human interaction, the education. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you address the concerns of the clients and what your team actually does? I don't know how much you want to share about the day-to-day of what your team is doing for an average client. What does a client get when they sign up with you? What's the setup process kind of look like at a high level? And then what are they doing? If you don't mind.
No, not at all. So when they're with us, and we onboard as like the full service package with my team, they have somebody managing their leads and their follow-up full time. Their staff doesn't have to worry about making calls, answering conversations. We go into their CRM and follow up. It's like staff can step away and take that hat off. We take it over. So it's full-time management. I mean, in the quickest version I can tell you is full-time management of their account. We're the one that when a new lead comes in, like right now, if a new lead came in, we get the notification and we're stopping what we're doing. We're picking up the phone, headset on, and dialing that person. So we're the ones that are fast on it, trying to get to them as quickly as possible, because we know that's what converts them the fastest into appointments. And we do. So if they don't convert into an appointment right away, we're following up a lot. Typically I see offices, the staff may have time to do maybe 2 calls, maybe 3 calls. That's like in a really good case scenario. They might leave a voicemail or 2 and might send a couple texts, and then they're done with it. Like, they literally consider those leads gone. And oh my gosh, they're not. Like, it like really hurts my heart when I know, because now doing what we do now, I really know how bad that is. So what I consider infinitely follow up. So if somebody doesn't book an appointment right away, we don't let it go. And I'll use this, if you don't mind, I'm a quick analogy.
Mhm.
When we were trained at our office to screening events, oh, the fun of the booths and and lugging all the equipment and setting up the stuff. We did that all the time. And we trained our staff. Again, it's a mission-driven reason we're there. Yes, we're there to get more patients, but we're there to change lives and pull people into our way of healthcare. And so we always used to train our team, don't let anybody pass you by. Like, you have no idea what that person's going through, no idea what they may be giving you the grimace. It doesn't matter. Say hello, and do they need to be checked? Come on over, pull them in. And that's the exact same philosophy I bring to the team when I train them. Don't let any leads pass you by. They may opt in late at night when they're in pain and they're scrolling and they see an ad, yeah, that looks good. And then they forget that they even did it because they were half awake and they weren't paying attention. It doesn't mean they're a bad quality lead. It means that they had a thought on their mind at that moment. Nobody can call them at 11 o'clock because we're all sleeping by then, hopefully. But when we get in the next day, we call them. And if they don't answer, we call them again. And if they don't answer, we call them again and again and again and again and so on. And it's the same philosophy as not letting anybody pass us by at a screening event. Those leads in the system, they need our help. And we want to stop them from going somewhere else to get that help, somewhere else where it's the slippery slope of drugs and surgeries. So that's our philosophy. We follow up rigorously, and it tapers off, to be fair. Like, we don't call every day for weeks and months and months. It tapers off. But it's a lot. And it should be to get the results and get the most out of converting the leads into appointments. So.
Yeah, good. Thanks for explaining that. And I know for me, I've watched you guys work because you work in some different CRMs. MyDC is the one we use a lot. And I've seen you, and I've been amazed at how often it looks like the lead is never going to respond. But then it's that third, fourth, or fifth outreach where they come back and say, oh, I'm so sorry, I've been out of pocket, or and I still would like to schedule. And you thought they were just going to ghost you, and hear that you bring them, you actually convert them into patients. And, once a practice, I think, sees that in effect, it really makes a difference.
Oh, yeah. And you bring up a really good point, because staff, I was there. I was a staff. My team was staff there, that they were like, okay, I've called this person 2 or 3 times. Now they're not calling back. I feel gross now. Like we don't, because we think back about our mission and why we're doing this in the first place. So that's just ingrained in my team. But our staff feels that way in the office. They're like, I got other things to do. I'm trying to, create care plans and bill insurance and go put somebody on, the therapies in the back and room a patient. And so they're thinking about all these other things. And then they just feel salesy and icky if they're calling somebody too much. And I get it. It's a different seat on the bus that they're in. And, that's why people bring us in to be on that seat and take that over, because it's lost opportunity when the staff stops following up and they feel like they followed up enough, but in reality, it does. You bring up such a good point. It can take more than 2 or 3 or 4 times sometimes. So.
Yeah, no, that's so true. I appreciate you sharing that. We do have a couple more questions that are coming in from those viewing. Here's one I'll throw at you. Do you need an office staff member for the Troy method to work for my practice, or can the Troy method replace my front office staff? Maybe clarify a little bit on that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a really good question. So we don't replace front office staff completely. Okay. Because we're not doing some of the stuff that you need that face of the office, right? Like checking people in, and we don't bill insurance. We don't do some of those other office admin stuff. But again, what we do is take the lead management over. So just think about where you're marketing right now, whether it's on Facebook, the social channels, Google, wherever, and those leads are coming into you. you have to have somebody there to follow up with them. That's our role. We make outbound calls for those people, but we also answer the inbound calls so your front office staff doesn't have to. It's not inbound calls for all of your office. It's the leads that are coming back. It's essentially like removing your front office. So you still need a front office person, but their capacity to serve you in the office grows. And they're wearing one less hat when we become a part of your team, which is essentially what we like to do. The cool part is we assign somebody to your office. Again, very different than a regular call center where you don't know who your leads are talking to every day. It's random for a regular call center. For us, we try our best to assign you a person that stays with you. We actually have team members fighting over offices, keeping offices. Like they love working with the team in the office. And we have a lot of interaction with our team members in office on a daily basis. So you get somebody that feels like they're a part of your team, which is really, really cool. That I value that as a clinic director when I was in the office. So that's why we're not going to any round robin style anytime soon.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, I think you answered it well. And that's huge value. Even I wasn't aware of that. So I'm learning things on this call too about what you guys do. I didn't realize that you assign someone to kind of stick with that office, but in talking with our docs, I could totally see the value in that. Because every practice I know for us that we work with, they're all different and they run their office different, what they treat is different. And their methodology, everything about it's all about that practice and how they run it. And I can see how getting familiar with that with one individual would make a night and day difference with being able to get the quality of lead follow-up and really helping patients be well educated and primed when they come in, so they kind of know what they're getting themselves into and how they're going to benefit from that appointment. Another question that came in is how quickly can your staff respond to an incoming lead? It's a good question.
Yeah, our goal is that 5 to 10 minutes. So because that's when they're hot. They just opted in, they're ready to go. So our goal as a team is 5 to 10 minutes. We work towards that every day. And we have process in place to allow us to execute on that. If your assigned person though is on a call, that might not happen like that. I mean, I want to set realistic, raw expectations of what our team does. And so if your person's on another call, they may not get that 5 minute, that lead in 5 minutes, but you bet they're going to hop on it as soon as they're done on the other call they're scheduling. We are very big on task lists and prioritizing, and priority is the urgency in lead follow-up, whether that's new leads coming in or whether that's conversations coming in, like text conversations. Those are the things that we're on top of all day long. And again, a differentiator with having somebody 100% focused on it.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah, 5 to 10 minutes is very fast. And I know just in doing our research, the statistically that is the sweet spot, and I'd say virtually no practices that aren't using a service like you, they're not getting that even close to that. And they often, as a result, they're losing these quality patients that have moved on. And it's one thing I hate seeing, because we monitor communication for practices in my DC, and we're looking at that engagement interaction, and they've got this quality lead. Sometimes they're even asking that they're texting the practice, asking for an appointment, and it'll just sit there. And sometimes a whole day or two will go by before the practice gets around to checking and actually following up. And, then of course they're looking at, well, my marketing program's not working. And we're looking at, well, there's no lead follow-up here. We're not engaging them. They actually asked for an appointment and we didn't follow up. And so the value of that to me is huge, just huge for any practice to really benefit from their marketing program. I guess one thing I'm wondering about, and I'm sure they're wondering about, is what kind of results have you been able to get for your clients? Can you share any positive results? What does it look like for an average practice? What can they expect? We can certainly see the work being put in. What can you answer on that front?
Yeah, I think most offices want to know like what's our lead to booked appointment conversion rate, right? Like that's our master KPI or key performance indicator for our team. And on average, I've been measuring this for 2+ years now, all over the country, different clinics, different demographics, and we just aggregate the data into one number. And it's of the leads that come into us, 40 on average, 40% of them are booked appointments. So quick math, 100 leads come in, because I can't do anything more challenging than this. 100 leads come in, 40 of them get booked as new patient appointments. That's on average what we see. Now, the cool part is I won't like confuse you with other metrics, but we also track like how many of those people actually talked to us, because 100 leads come in. Oh, I might confuse you anyway. So hear me out on this. So 100 leads may come in, but a lot of the time people just, they don't ever respond, or it takes months to respond. So we track an engaged metric, and we try to see, well, of those 100, how many actually talk to us? And it's usually about 60%. There's always a fall off, you guys, with any agency, with any demographic, there's always a fall off of leads. 100 may opt in, but not all 100 ever engage, although we try to get them to. So about 60% of them fall off. And of those 60, we're still booking about 40% of the overall leads. So when we talk to people, we're converting them at about, our engaged conversion is about 70 to 75% on average. So 70 to 75% of the people that actually talk to us after they opt in to the ad, after they click that button, those are pretty profound results for our clinics. So yeah. Hopefully that made sense and I didn't confuse.
Yeah, no, and I think honestly, a lot of docs are, they are, if they're interested in growing their practice and managing it well, they should be looking at those numbers. Most of the ones we talk to, they're looking at what's their conversion rate. And even with good marketing alone, you're looking at maybe a 10 to 15% conversion rate. Often it's a lot lower than that. I mean, with your average marketing that most clients are doing before they come work with us. And so you're taking that from a 10 to 15 or often less up to an average of 40. That's a huge improvement. I mean, that's a night and day. So we really contrast that. That's what I'm doing in my mind. I'm contrasting. I'm thinking, wow, that's worth its weight in gold, to be able to increase that rate like that. And really you're maximizing your conversion rate, because at a certain point, there's people that are just not going to follow up for whatever reason, or there may be a bad lead, and you have to let those go. But if you can maximize that conversion, which is what you guys are doing, that's just phenomenal. Another question that came in from a viewer, let's see. Are you able to manage conversations on other platforms, or do you do just like SMS messages, or what do you guys do for being able to respond and nurture? You mentioned phone calls, of course, too.
Yeah, good question. So like Michael said, the MyDC system is what we use. Those are where, when he's marketing for his clinics, those leads are coming into that MyDC platform. That's where we like to operate. We have very robust workflows and snapshots put in there to help make us good at what we do. So we lean on that technology, and that's where we manage it. So all of the lead conversations happen in that system, transparent to our doctors and our clinics. Like, we don't hide anything. You can hear recorded calls. You can see the conversations. All of it's in the system that you actually, our clinics own, or our agencies within their agency account. We plug and play. That's another advantage. We're different in that way, where we plug and play into other systems, because it makes it easier for the clinic. It makes it easier for you guys to not have to go to other systems. So we manage everything in there. We'll text, there's email communication that's built into that system, and of course the phone calls. Email isn't as heavy, to be totally honest, because people just aren't as engaging with that anymore. It's slower. Text is more of that instant gratification in real time. So we're much heavier on the text and the phone calls. Hundreds of calls in a month for our clinics at any given time.
Yeah, very nice. Which is, honestly, that's the best way to convert, because if you can get them on phone, that you can really talk to them and get a real person. And I will add one thing too. MyDC also it does integrate with social media. So I think sometimes they're thinking, patients reach out, potential patients reach out on Instagram, Facebook, through the website chat, through all these different methods, and no one has the time or energy to be able to, keep track of all these ads. And we can't imagine your team being able to install an ad and activate an account for every single client you have out there for all their Facebook. And so by integrating with MyDC, it all comes into one system. And then you're able to respond, and you guys are able to respond really to any of those platforms just by replying through the one system.
Great.
Right?
Yeah, that's a great point. It aggregates them all into that one spot. So we, on the behalf of the clinic, can do it for them. That's super helpful. The only thing that we don't have access to is like Facebook comments. And there aren't a lot of those typically. Not from what I hear from our clinics, but everything else is in there. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's huge. And I know one thing our docs add to that is they like being able to log in themselves and be able to see the activity that you're doing, right? So like recording calls and even seeing the message history of that lead follow-up. It's not like, they're hiring somebody to go do this and we have no idea. Well, are they actually following up, or how are they doing it? You can actually see that activity and history, and it's a ton. Let me tell you, I've looked at what Jen's team does, and it's a ton. It's just boom, boom, boom with the follow-up, the phone calls. We can even they leave beautiful voicemails if they don't reach the patient. And if they do get a call, you can hear the professional way that they're responding back. And to me, that built a lot of confidence for me and for the clients that we share in common, as far as them really having confidence in your team. Because what you have that you're offering is amazing, but really knowing that that's exactly what's happening. I mean, I can tell you guys, it's exactly what's happening on the production side. And it's pretty cool to be able to have visual and see what's going on when you're a practice manager. No doc wants to be blind on that.
No, not at all. And I speak from experience with that. When I'm building my process and learning over these years, I have my clinic director hat on. And we're a very high volume, very into our KPIs, very focused on what's happening with our marketing. And I've taken a lot of that skill set with me here. And you bring up a good point. Again, the transparency with what's going on in there is super important and so valuable. And I will also say, I am a stickler for, you may be hearing these wonderful things on this call with me right now, but I want the execution with my team to be the same. Mm-hmm. Like I've bought programs and I've signed up for things where it's all this awesomeness on the front end. And then when I get to the fulfillment part, it falls flat on its face. I don't want that to happen with our team. We're very aware that we want you to feel good and taken care of through the process. And you know what's going on every step of the way. That's super important because again, clinic director hat goes back on in that moment. I had some times of vulnerability in the office. I'm like, well, what is happening here? Yeah. I do never want our clinics to feel that way.
Yeah, I know how that feels, but we appreciate that, right? A company is always a reflection of the owner, and that integrity and that high quality of practice or production service offering that you offer, I think, is well reflected in your company as well. So in short, why should a practice go with the Troy method? We covered a lot of ground. Any final comments on why they should really at least look at incorporating your service and or your course, which I want to talk about next?
Yeah. Well, I would ask, what's the best that can happen? Don't ask what's the worst, what's the best, right? So that's how I look at things. But I think when I'm talking to docs, it's really, and again, my other hat goes on. Who do I want on my side managing my leads and representing my practice? Because that's how I felt about it. I didn't own the practice, but I sure felt like I did. And I carry that with me with what we do today. And I think that it is incredibly valuable to have a team of people that you don't have to train, you don't have to manage, but that cares about it almost as much as you do. And that is our team. That is me for sure. Because our mission is to help as many patients as possible live longer, happier, healthier lives free of unnecessary drugs and surgeries. And we get to do that by helping our clinics. So I think like final words would just be, what's the best that could happen? More patients in the door, impacting more lives, more leads coming. I mean, you name it. We're advocates for you, and that's important. Sales aside, right? It's just, who do you want going to bat for you and calling your leads? And in a lot of cases, I've seen staff struggle with this. They just struggle. It's a different mindset. It's a different position. And we as clinic directors and people who are managing an office with only so many resources in the office, we shove the square pegs into the round holes of people trying to fill this space in their practice, like trying to fill this role with somebody who just doesn't always fit the role. If you have somebody, keep them. Don't use us, keep them. Because it's hard to find there. And we'll talk a little bit more like with the course and how I structured that course. Mindset is so important with this person that's managing your office. And we're going to go to bat for our clinics. So I know that was a lot for, final thoughts, but.
Oh, it's great, Jen. I think, again, I'm one of your biggest advocates because I've seen what you do. I love what you do. I personally, we're looking forward to hearing, I'd like to hear a little bit about the course before we talk about the amazing discount you're offering. So for some practices out there, they may not want to hire a team, and maybe they're not ready to jump in full bore, but you have actually taken, if I understand correctly, you've taken pretty much all of what you do, your training, and you've made it available for the do-it-yourself who wants to, train their own practice staff, or even the doc who wants to do it himself. If they're getting started, maybe they're getting new into practice. Tell us about what that course looks like. What kind of offer is it?
Yeah, this is really cool and something I'm super proud of right now. I created it. I was doing monthly webinars and for agencies, and they were asking me, hey, get on, teach our front office staff. So it was very geared towards helping the front office staff with the lead conversion and how to teach them how to do the things. So as I was like building slides and building things to go on these webinars, I'm like, wait a minute, I need to make this a little more evergreen. But really my initial thought on it was not to sell it necessarily. It was to help my team. Here's a training for my team. I'm doing this on a regular basis. So that's a little background of where the course came from. What it is not a 12-week course that your staff has to take years and months to ever finish. The purpose of this course is to, in less than 2 hours, be able to train your staff on the fundamentals of lead follow-up. And it's very specific to lead follow-up, very specific. So we walk through a little bit of intro on, us and what we do and how we do it, but we go into, well, what is the mindset of a lead manager? What does that look like? What do they need to be thinking about when they're making these calls? I do actually talk through the nerve system, right? Like I mentioned earlier, I think it's vital. Even if the front office staff is in an office, it's varying what offices teach or don't teach their staff. I feel like that's a foundation. You have to be comfortable on the phone with what your office is doing for patients. If they're a new staff member, maybe they're not comfortable, even if they've been there 20 years, good refresher on what we're doing to help patients. We go through how to impact the show rate, how to make a dent and a difference in that. Are people going to show up 100% of the time? No, I'll be the first to tell you, if anybody's telling you yes, they're lying to you. We have too much data to show that's not real, but you can make a difference in that show rate. So we have things like that. We also share our master scripting. What are our phone calls sound like? What do they look like? We share bonus materials like frequently asked questions. Like, what do you get asked on the phone? Oh, fun. The insurance question. Do you accept insurance? Do you accept my insurance? Well, what do they pay? All the things that your staff gets fumbled on when they're on these calls. So this course is walking through how we do what we do, but for your staff to do it instead of us doing it for them. I wanted to be able to share the knowledge for offices, just like you said, Michael, that may not be ready to hire a team, may have somebody they feel like could be a perfect fit. This course is less, it's like 2 hours of content, videos, me training, walking through. I feel like it's pretty interactive, and we've seen some really great success with it. So right now it's 50% off. We're offering it at 50% off right now. It's not that way for long, because like Michael said, it doesn't have to be. But I wanted to, because I'm on here right now, wanted to share that with the docs that are listening in, and maybe the office managers and staff that are listening in. So we're excited to be able to offer that to the offices that may just not be ready to dive into the big stuff yet.
I love it. Yeah, and like Jen mentioned, I think her service and course is worth its weight. As you know, I think honestly, I told you, Jen, I think your services are underpriced. I'll just be honest. But I think what that really just speaks to the value of what you're offering. Our clients love it at the retail rate, and so that discount that you're offering right now is phenomenal. And I would highly recommend all of you at least go check it out. Scan the QR code. Can we have the slide put up on the screen? All right, very good. So we'll get that. And so we actually have two offers, I think, that Jen is offering right now. One is for the course, 50% off. You can see both have expiration date, but even with her service offering, she's got a killer deal, really, and it's spelled out there for you. And so look through it. I doubt she'll be offering this again in the near future. Go check it out. Go look at what comes with her service offering. Go look at what her course offers. Check it out and see if it's something that would really benefit your practice. I know our clients, as I mentioned, they've greatly benefited just not having the hassle and the headache of having to train your staff, try to train them. Often they still can't figure it out. And then, having them try to go through and nurture leads and all that revenue that's really just slipping through the cracks because of missing this key element of service that Jen's team is putting together is just phenomenal. So, Jen, I think that's all the questions I see for our viewers. Any parting words?
No, I think just to add to what you were just saying. So yes, there are parting words. I think it's like, how many patients need to start care to make it worth it? I think that's really the thing to think about. Is it's not, in my experience, not that many. And it takes all this extra weight off your shoulders. So we're just here for our clinics. You have questions, reach out to me. I know they have my information up there. Reach out with questions. You have a question, I'm happy to answer for you. Whether you use us or not, we want your clinic to be successful. That is number one priority. We want more patients to come to you. So we're here for you. We appreciate you listening in and staying tuned this long. And that's it. I'm excited. I appreciate you having me on today.
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks, Jen. Very, very educational. Thank you guys for tuning in today. And again, go check it out. You're going to love what Jen does. And we really love the value, Jen, that you've brought to the chiropractic space and the help that you're doing in the industry. Thanks so much for being with us today, and look forward to seeing your future growth and the success that you have, and wish you all the best in that endeavor.